Have you ever dealt with someone who smiles to your face but quietly plays dirty behind your back? Someone who twists conversations, provokes reactions, or pulls you into emotional traps so they gain the upper hand. The moment you react, they win. That's the game. And most people don't even realize they're playing it. In this video, you'll learn 10 psychological tricks rooted in Machiavellian strategy that help you stay calm, protect your position, and quietly turn the advantage back in your favor. By the end, you'll know exactly how to deal with people who try to manipulate you without lowering yourself to their level. The manipulator's first move is often what you could call an emotional probe. They throw out small comments, strange questions, or subtle remarks, not because they care about your answer, but because they are watching your reaction. What they are really measuring is your emotional response. The moment you show anger, frustration, or fear, you give them something they can use. Your reaction becomes their leverage. The stronger response is to give them nothing at all. Picture your emotions locked inside a secure vault. They can knock on the door, they can try to provoke it open, but they never get to see what's inside. Your calm becomes your advantage. Your stillness becomes your strength. When there is no reaction, the manipulator is left holding nothing. Their tactic loses power the moment it cannot reach you. So remain unreadable. Let them stand there with an empty weapon in their hands, while you quietly keep control of the situation. Most people fail against manipulators for one simple reason. They react before they understand the game. In conversation, silence carries real power. Most people feel uncomfortable with it, so they rush to fill the space and often reveal more than they planned. Strategic silence is not simply saying nothing, it is a deliberate choice. When someone tries to manipulate you or treat you unfairly, resist the instinct to respond immediately. Hold the silence for a moment longer. Notice what happens next. The pressure slowly shifts away from you. The manipulator, now uncomfortable, may begin talking more than they should, exposing their motives or weaknesses. Your silence starts to act like a mirror, reflecting the situation back at them and forcing honesty into the open. Used well, strategic silence can turn confrontation into quiet negotiation, and it places control of the moment back in your hands. Once you understand this, silence stops being passive. It becomes a form of control. There is real strength in doing nothing, a quiet, watchful stillness that impatient people rarely understand. They often mistake it for weakness. Let them think that. In their hurry to push forward, they usually create the opening for their own mistake. This is the art of strategic patience. When you refuse to react, their energy has nowhere to land. While they keep setting traps, convinced you are already caught, you simply observe as they slowly trap themselves instead. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. You stay still, you learn, and you walk away with clarity, while they are left wondering why their clever tactic failed to work. The impatient always expose themselves. The patient simply watch. In the theater of human interaction, attention works like currency. Manipulators often focus that attention on your weaknesses, so you stay defensive while they gain control. Psychological misdirection is the skill of quietly moving that spotlight somewhere else. Like a magician, you guide the attention away without creating resistance or conflict. Instead of defending yourself, you introduce a different topic that sparks their ego or curiosity. The focus changes, the pressure on you fades, and slowly the manipulator loses control of the moment. Without force, you begin guiding the conversation yourself, turning their scrutiny into interest, sometimes even admiration. That is the quiet strength of psychological misdirection. But sometimes control doesn't come from resisting attention. It comes from quietly redirecting it. Provocation is one of the manipulator's simplest tools. It may seem crude, but it often works because it forces a reaction and throws you off balance. Once your emotions rise, your judgment becomes easier to cloud. They might use subtle insults, backhanded compliments, or passive-aggressive remarks, each one like a spark tossed onto dry ground. What they are hoping for is a fire. They want you to flare up with anger, fall into self-doubt, or rush into a defensive explanation. An emotional reaction is exactly what they are looking for. It tells them their tactic is working and that they have found a weak spot in your armor. The strongest response is to give them nothing. Simply refuse to react. This does not mean pretending the insult never happened. It means seeing it clearly without letting it pull you in. Imagine watching it from a distance, like a scene in a play. You notice the spark, you recognize what it is, but you do not let it ignite anything inside you. Your calm becomes your protection, a quiet kind of armor that their words cannot penetrate. And this is where most manipulators expect you to fail. If you're realizing that reacting emotionally is exactly what manipulative people want, this is why I wrote The Art of Strategic Indifference. It teaches you how to stay calm, unreadable, and in control when people try to provoke or manipulate you. If that's something you're working on, you'll find the link in the description. Their remarks, no matter how sharp they sound, simply bounce off and fall without effect. When there is no reaction from you, it unsettles the person who tried to provoke you. They spent time choosing the right comment, hoping it would hit with force and create a strong response. But when it lands with nothing but silence, it leaves them uncomfortable. Now they are the ones standing exposed, their hostility clear for anyone paying attention. They expected a confrontation, but you never even stepped into it. This puts them in an awkward position. Either they push the provocation further and reveal their intent more openly, or they step back because the tactic failed. Holding this level of composure takes real self-control. It is a quiet signal that you are not controlled by someone else's attempts to provoke you. Your reactions belong to you, and no one else decides how you respond. While they try to ignite conflict, you remain calm and steady, like a deep lake that does not easily move. Their provocations are only small pebbles tossed onto the surface. They may create a brief ripple, but the deeper stillness of your composure remains untouched. That inner calm becomes a fortress no petty hostility can break through. Imagine a situation where a colleague repeatedly forgets to include you in important emails or accidentally talks over you during meetings. The hostility is hidden under a thin layer of plausible deniability. "Oh, my apologies. It must have slipped my mind," they say with a practiced smile. If you respond with anger, you risk appearing paranoid or overly sensitive. They may even play the victim, acting shocked that you would accuse them of something like that. The situation becomes a trap where any strong reaction makes you seem like the aggressor. In moments like this, refusing to react becomes a quiet but powerful response. The next time someone interrupts you in a meeting, resist the urge to react or show irritation. Do not stop speaking in frustration. Instead, pause for a moment and hold eye contact with them just a second longer than feels comfortable. Then, without mentioning the interruption, Calmly continue your sentence from the exact point where you stopped. You do not raise your voice, and you do not say, "Please let me finish." You simply carry on as if their attempt to interrupt had no real effect. Your composure sends the message. It shows that their effort to derail you was insignificant, nothing more than a minor distraction you have already dismissed. This quiet act often carries more power than any direct confrontation. Without saying a word, you communicate several things at once. You show that you notice the tactic, that you are not intimidated by it, and that it holds no influence over you. At the same time, their behavior becomes visible without you ever having to call it out. People in the room will notice the sequence, the interruption, the pause, and the calm continuation that follows. The manipulator is left looking rude and careless, their small attempt at control quietly turning against them. They tried to weaken your position, but instead they exposed themselves. By meeting these provocations with calm, steady composure, you slowly remove all power from their tactics. Their passive aggression only works when it triggers your frustration. It depends on your reaction. When you refuse to give them that reaction, their behavior loses its cover and becomes obvious for what it really is, a petty and ineffective attempt to undermine you. In that moment, the situation shifts. You did not win by arguing or confronting them. You won by refusing to step into the fight they tried to create. Your calm preserved your dignity, your position, and your control, and it quietly proves that when dealing with hidden hostility, the strongest response is often simple, steady composure. If you find this kind of psychological strategy useful, you can leave a like. And if you want more content on power, perception, and human behavior, consider subscribing. Power is not only about what you actually have, it is about what others believe you have. In every social setting, you become a character in a story that other people are quietly forming. The wise person does not simply accept the role they are given. They shape their own role, guiding how others see them, until people notice not just the individual, but the presence they project. This is the art of managing perception. It happens through small signals, the way you look at someone, the way you move, and the words you choose carefully. Over time, you create an image of strength and quiet unpredictability. When people are unsure how you will respond, that uncertainty becomes your protection. Someone who understands perception never rushes to react. Instead, they redirect the moment, rise above the provocation, and quietly guide the narrative. By doing this again and again, you show others that attempts to reduce or undermine you will not work. You decide what matters in the situation, and that quiet control is where real power begins. Sometimes protecting yourself is not enough. When dealing with a manipulator, a more elegant response is to quietly mirror their tactics and shift the balance. Watch their behavior carefully, understand the patterns, and then reflect those same methods back toward them. If they rely on false flattery, leading questions, or subtle exclusion, you respond in a similar way. This kind of mirroring can unsettle them because it reveals the structure of their own game without any open confrontation. You are not simply giving them the same treatment. You are showing them their own strategy. When their behavior is reflected back, the comfort of operating in secrecy disappears. In a setting where people value openness and direct interaction, their tactics begin to lose their strength. What once worked quietly in the shadows becomes visible the moment it is brought into the light. But the moment someone realizes their tactics are being reflected back at them, the balance of power shifts. In conflict, a manipulator often creates urgency on purpose. They push you to respond quickly, hoping pressure will make you react emotionally and make mistakes. The stronger response is to pause deliberately. Let the moment slow down. Let the silence remain for a few seconds. Take a breath and regain your composure. That small delay alone can shift the balance. It unsettles the other person and interrupts the momentum they were trying to build. Your patience becomes a quiet signal of control. While others rush into reactions, you wait, observe, and move only when the moment is right. In many situations, patience becomes the surface on which frantic tactics simply lose their force. Control rarely belongs to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the calmest one. Power is a strange thing. People fight for it, lie for it, and sometimes sacrifice everything just to hold it. Yet the strongest form of power often comes from what you are willing to release. A manipulator's strategy depends on your desires and your fears. They need you to care deeply about something because that emotion gives them leverage. It becomes the fuel that drives their influence. To disarm them, you must build a quiet sense of indifference within your mind. Accept what they say or offer with calm distance. Your ability to remain self-sufficient becomes a silent declaration of independence. When you no longer place value where they expect you to, the target disappears. They cannot control what you no longer chase or protect. In that moment, their influence fades, meeting nothing but the quiet space of your indifference. And once you stop feeding the game itself begins to collapse. Control is rarely taken through loud confrontations. Most shifts in power happen quietly, in the small spaces between words, pauses, and glances. Manipulators often try to set the emotional tone so that you react inside the world they create. But the balance can be shifted without drama. Through small, deliberate actions like calmly finishing your thought or holding a steady gaze, you begin to establish your own frame. The real skill is not open conflict, but subtle reframing. When they try to create urgency, you answer with calm. When they try to put you on the spot, you redirect and guide the moment instead. Slowly, without announcing it, you redefine the situation itself. And when that shift happens, the control they thought they had quietly moves into your hands. The world often feels like a vast and complicated stage, and not everyone on it reveals their true intentions. Many people wear masks, not made of metal or wood, but made of politeness, charm, and carefully practiced sincerity. Behind those masks, quiet games of influence and control are sometimes being played. Certain individuals try to move the pieces around them for their own advantage, even when it comes at someone else's expense. They thrive in emotional confusion and uncertainty, using the fears and reactions of others as tools to strengthen their position. Navigating a world like this does not mean becoming like them or adopting their cruelty or deception. Instead, it means becoming something they struggle to influence, a mind that stays clear, calm, and self-directed. The ideas we explored are not about aggression or revenge. They are about awareness. They act as the shield of composure and the strength of clear thinking. When you remain emotionally unreadable, you deny others the grip they seek. When you use silence carefully, you allow their own momentum to work against them. To practice indifference is to build a kind of inner fortress that others cannot easily break through. These ideas are not tricks meant for manipulation. They are skills meant for self-preservation. They allow a thoughtful person to protect their independence in a world that often tries to influence or undermine it. Real strength is not about dominating others. It is about never allowing yourself to be dominated. The games of power will always exist, just as they have throughout history. People will continue to seek advantage, and those who are unaware will always be vulnerable. But you do not have to become a piece in someone else's game. When you learn to master your reactions, manage what you reveal, and recognize the hidden dynamics around you, the entire experience changes. You begin moving through situations with quiet confidence. You become the observer and the strategist, rather than the person being controlled. You become the person who sees the strings behind the situation, and once you see them, they lose their ability to move you. In a world where hidden games are constantly being played, the sharpest and most aware mind usually holds the advantage. Remember this above everything else. The greatest form of power you will ever possess is control over your own mind. It is the one place no one can enter unless you allow it. Protect it carefully. Keep your thoughts steady and your intentions your own. Let your composure act as your armor, and let your intelligence guide your decisions. Do not allow yourself to be pulled into the storms that others create. Instead, remain grounded in the quiet center of your own mind. From that steady place, real control begins to form. Stay unreadable. Stay in control. If this video helped you see these situations more clearly, leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with someone who might need it. Subscribe for more insights on power, psychology, and strategy, and watch the next video to continue building your awareness.